The police left, their flashlights cutting through the humid night one last time before their patrol car pulled away. They were entirely convinced it was nothing more than a mother's late-night paranoia. They had checked everything. The heavy wooden front door was pristine, no scratch marks around the lock. The deadbolt was engaged, and the security chain was still firmly hooked from the inside. To the officers, the math was simple. It was physically impossible for a grown man to vanish from a completely locked ground-floor apartment without leaving a single trace. So they wrote it off. A nightmare. A vivid hallucination brought on by the suffocating, sleepless summer heat. But the mother, she knew what she saw. For the next 7 days, the apartment transformed. The air became thick, stagnant, as if the apartment itself was holding its breath, hiding a dark secret. Every single creak of the old floorboards made her heart leap into her throat. Every shadow cast by the swaying tree branches outside looked like the tall, motionless silhouette of that man. She kept the windows shut tight, locked, barricaded. Yet, that invisible weight, the primal gut-wrenching feeling of being watched, never truly went away. Exactly 1 week after that terrifying night, the psychological tension became too much to bear. She couldn't live in a state of constant paralysis anymore. She needed to clean, to scrub the apartment clean of the dread that had settled into the very fabric of the walls. She started in the kitchen, wiping down the counters, her movements mechanical, repetitive, desperate for normalcy. And then, she reached the corner. Right next to the kitchen pantry was a tiny, narrow, unremarkable wooden door. It was the service closet, a cramped, pitch-black space where the building's water heater was tucked away. It was a place no one ever looked into, a dead zone in the apartment you only opened if the hot water suddenly stopped working. She gripped the cold metal handle, turned it, and slowly pulled the door open. At first, everything looked normal. The massive cylindrical metal tank sat in the center, humming quietly, vibrating gently against the drywall. But as her eyes adjusted to the thick shadows behind the tank, she noticed something on the dusty floorboards, something that made her entire body go completely rigid. Pushed into the furthest, tightest crevice behind the water heater sat a neat little pile of items. Her breath caught in her throat. She could feel the blood rushing to her ears, a deafening roar of pure panic. With a trembling hand, she reached into the dark, her fingers brushing against the cold dust, and pulled the items out into the harsh kitchen light. It was a pair of heavy, thick black winter gloves. Next to them, a sickeningly large pile of freshly torn chewing gum wrappers. And beneath the gloves lay a worn, generic, spiral-bound notebook. With shaking fingers, she peeled open the cardboard cover. Inside, written in frantic, messy, scratching handwriting, were pages and pages of notes. It wasn't random gibberish. It was a log, a meticulous daily diary of their lives. It listed the exact timestamps of when the mother left for her job, the exact hours the 5-year-old boy slept, and detailed, hand-drawn sketches of the apartment's layout, tracking the blind spots of every single room. And on the very last page, written over and over again until the ink bled through the paper, were their names. The realization hit her like a tidal wave of ice water. The police were right about one thing. The man hadn't broken into their apartment that night because he didn't need to. He hadn't slid through the open window, and he hadn't picked the deadbolt on the front door. He had been inside the entire time. He had been living in that suffocatingly small, pitch-black closet for days, weeks, maybe even months. He had been sitting just inches away from them while they cooked dinner, listening to their laughter, their conversations through the thin drywall, and waiting. The night the 5-year-old boy woke up wasn't the first time that man had stepped out of the closet into their bedroom. It was just the first time he got caught. The man was never identified, his true intentions never discovered. But to this day, she never enters a room without checking the dark corners of every closet first. The mother grabbed her son, fled the building in her pajamas, and never stepped foot in that apartment again. She ran to her car, locked the doors, and drove straight to the police station, clutching that horrifying notebook to her chest like a shield. The man was never identified, his true intentions never fully discovered by the law. But the story didn't just end there, because what the police uncovered during the forensic sweep of that apartment weeks later turned this nightmare into something far worse. When detectives finally took her story seriously and dismantled that tiny utility closet, they didn't just find an empty space. They found a hidden, hollowed-out section in the drywall, directly behind the water heater, a space just wide enough for a grown man to stand completely upright. Inside that wall, investigators discovered 2 small, meticulously drilled peepholes. One was angled perfectly toward the kitchen table where the mother sat every evening, and the other broke through the plaster of the boy's bedroom wall, hidden right inside the dark shadow of his clothing closet. He hadn't just been waiting, he had been watching them in real time, a silent spectator to their entire lives. But the most chilling piece of evidence came from the building's maintenance logs. When the police asked the landlord who had access to the apartment before they moved in, they discovered that the water heater had been serviced just 3 days before the mother signed the lease. The technician who signed the log, a man using a fake ID, a ghost who disappeared from the company's database the exact same week, which meant the intruder didn't break in after they arrived. He was already living inside the walls, waiting for whatever family would walk through that front door next. Years have passed since that summer night. The boy is grown now, and the apartment building has long since been demolished. But some scars never truly heal. To this day, the mother cannot sleep in a room with a closed closet door. Every time she enters a new house, she doesn't look at the view. She doesn't check the kitchen. She immediately walks over to the darkest corners, tapping on the drywall, listening, praying that there isn't a hollow echo on the other side, because she knows the terrifying truth. Sometimes the monsters aren't under your bed. Sometimes they are breathing right beside you, hidden behind the plaster.